Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Tuesday, December the 2nd, 2025. Tuesday, December the 2nd. Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about, whew, Michael didn't do anything stupid. He didn't. But I did notice the camera angling. It did not make sense. Because remember yesterday, and they even showed it today, the repeat of the scene. Michael's looking in the window, but he's coming from left to right into the window looking, right? In that corner. Drew has plain sight of all, it's three windows there. Michael was in the far left one, okay? And when Michael, he waited until Martin started saying the vows, and then he kind of went back a little bit, which was he went back to the left a little bit out of the window frame, and he just stood up. And when he stood up, everybody, he walked past the three windows to the right. And I was like, well, Drew had to have seen him walk right by those unobstructed windows. I said, well, doggone. He should have been seen walking past the windows to crouch down in that far left window. So that's what I'm saying when I'm saying that the camera angling was off. I thought he should have, the way they showed it, he should have come from the left into peeking in the window, even if he was going to leave going right. However, when they showed him outside that window when he stood up, there's a wall right there. There's the Drew's front door right there, just past the front door. There's a wall. He could not have come from that way. So I said, well, you know what? Y'all pay attention to the set. Pay a little bit closer attention to the set, folks. Otherwise, don't show him stand up, and we can see he could not have been at that window without anybody seeing him. Get to that window. Just like he could not have walked away without shadowing and everybody else seeing him. They'd have been looking like, who's that? Right? Walking by. So needless to say, Willow and Drew actually do get married. Let me pull up my picture. Martin's doing the vows. And when he got to the part where it says, is there anybody who feels these two? And he stops and he looks at Drew. And this is when Michael decides he's going to walk away. He goes, do we have to read this part? And Drew says, no, he goes, can we skip this part? And Drew says, yeah. He said, because nobody is going to interfere with me marrying my bride today, right? Or Willow today, whatever, who cares? So it's time for them to say the vows, right? Drew says his vows, Willow says hers, Scout gives them the rings, right? And before it's time for Willow to say, I do, Willow, blah blah, take, do you take the, yeah. She flashes back to Nina saying, look, we could walk right out of here. There are other ways and all of that. So it's in her mind because Drew already said his I do, right? So Drew's looking at her mouth, holding his breath. So Willow comes out of her little memory thought, right? And she looks and she goes, I do. It's like Drew's face that was already turning blue from holding his breath because Willow took so long to go into her memories, right? Standing there, he's like, yeah, okay. She said I do, y'all. Did y'all hear? Did you hear? Did you? She said I do. So, needless to say, the Martin finishes up his little by the power vested in me, blah, 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 blah. Man and wife, you may kiss your bride. And Drew is just like, oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, he can't wait. He goes in for the kiss now. Scout is smiling. Alexis, soon as he is getting close to her, she goes like, "Oh, brother." Nina is like, "Oh, I don't even want to look at this." Both of them are turning their heads away from Willow and Drew in the kiss. Now, when they even showed a camera on Elizabeth, when they were waiting for Willow to say her I do, after she said I do, Elizabeth is just like, is she gonna do this? Is she really gonna do this? Huh. Well, okay. Elizabeth was not smiling, happy. No, she was just like, huh, I guess she is gonna do it. All right. Right? So anyway, needless to say, that wedding, Drew's the happiest man in the world. Willow just, she goes, mission accomplished in her mind, right? Or Nina came to speak to her after, and Drew was maybe with Martin or something. And then she goes, mission accomplished. She told Nina that. And Nina just looked at her like, okay. So Alexis kept trying to rush Scout on out of there, right? And so Scout says, but wait, I got something for you, Daddy. She drew a picture of her, him, and Willow. But we didn't see that till later. So Alexis takes her, and then everybody's pretty much gone. And Willow says, what was the gift that Scout had for you? So he goes, oh, it was this. She drew this picture of us. And he showed it to her, and she's looking at it. And it's hitting her like, my kids aren't in this picture. And he comes from behind her and he goes, soon, Wiley and Amelia will be in a picture with all of us. Soon, Willow, you're going to get your kids back. I promise. And it's almost like every time he says, I promise, her skin should crawl, or she should almost vomit. Because every time Drew has said, I promised, those promises never came through. Actually, the opposite always happened. Every time he said, I promise. Okay. But anyway, that's over. Now we're showing Laura. She just finished volunteering at the soup kitchen. She took little Ace. And she was talking to Lucky, who was telling him about he and Aiden's Thanksgiving. So then she goes, thank you so much for the flowers, Lucky. They were beautiful. So I guess he had sent her flowers. She was happy to get them. And another knock comes at the door. She goes, okay, well, honey, I'll let you go. So she looks out the peephole and she says, more flowers, Ace? Now the flowers are up covering the peephole. Safety alert, everybody. Safety alert. You have a peephole because you're supposed to see who's out there. Because somebody covering your peephole with flowers after you just found a dead body in your car 2 days prior, you don't open the door. You say, who is it? You let them flowers announce themselves, right? So she opens the door. And then Kevin pulls the flowers down, and it's Kevin. She goes, Kevin, I wasn't expecting you back till next week. He goes, I wanted to surprise you. I wanted to be here on Thanksgiving night. And I'm thinking, well, you missed the food, right? You couldn't have caught an earlier flight, Kevin? So anyway, he Laura's like, she's so happy to see him. And then he goes over to Ace. He had brought a double decker bus, blah, blah, blah. But he goes, Laura, something is everything okay? Something's not right. And she goes, no, everything's okay, Kevin. Everything's okay. And so he goes, no, it's not. But then the doorbell rings. So she goes and gets it. It's Lulu bringing over, I think I said this yesterday, probably pumpkin pie, because one sweet potato. So anyway, um, Lulu asked to take because she put little Ace down. She said, because look, all I got are teenagers now. It's like they barely grunt when they go up the stairs. So Laura says, yeah, absolutely, put him down. So she takes Ace to the back. She's going to give him his bath and read him a story. And Kevin says, okay, now, how's Rocco? She goes, Rocco's doing, fine. He's doing better. Okay, what about this Professor Dalton? And she had a worried look on her face. He goes, okay, you got a worried look. Do you feel that Dalton is going to come back and make trouble for Rocco? And then by this time, Lulu finally comes out and she goes, yeah, Ace is down. She gives him the monitor. Um, and she ends up saying goodbye to Kevin and Laura. And Laura says, um, you asked me, she closed the door. She said, you asked me, was I worried about Dalton coming back? And he goes, yeah, are you? She goes, no. She said, because Professor Dalton is dead. And he looked at her, he goes, dead? How do you know that? She said, because I found his body in the trunk of my car. And Kevin is like, wait, huh? Right? Wait, you what? So they left that scene with them there. Now, everybody, let's go to the most annoying character on today's episode. Stella's a close runner-up, but she wasn't the number one annoying character. She gets annoying, Stella, with her know-it-all righteous indignations on what people should do and what the right thing is to do. But anyway, it was Trina. Number one annoying person is Trina. Nathan comes up, blah blah blah, tells Curtis they need to take him in for questioning, and Curtis says, "Am I under arrest?" And Nathan's like, "No, we've got some questions for you." So he goes, "Well, look, I need to go in and tell my family that I'm gonna go down to the station." So Nathan says, "Okay, so we'll be in the car waiting at the edge of the driveway." Curtis looked at him and he said, no, you won't. No, no. I will drive myself. I'm gonna meet you right away. As soon as I tell my family, I'm gonna come right on down to the station." So Nathan goes, "Oh, okay." Because he's like, "Look, I ain't under arrest. Why should I be perp walked in the back of a squad car? I don't think so." Right? I was like, "Go ahead, Curtis. You were a cop. You know. You know the deal. Jordan too." So, everybody, I can't even remember. I don't think he went in and told the family. I mean, he went in, but I don't think they showed that. If they did, I didn't pay attention to it. I was so disgusted with Trina telling everybody, yeah, they're coming and they want to question Dad about the shooting of Congressman Kane. And Stella's like, wait, what? And so she goes, and Jordan, of course, Jordan's going to go down to the police station with him. And so Stella said, good for that. Jordan can look after Curtis. And Trina said, that ain't all she gonna be looking at or looking after. And Stella's like, what are you talking about, Trina? It's Jordan's fault that my parents are getting a divorce. She's the reason. So Marshall sat there. Marshall says, well, no, no. Jordan is absolutely not the only reason that Portia and Curtis are getting a divorce. It's for other reasons they're getting a divorce, right? And so Stella says, "And you know about this?" And he goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Well," Stella says, "No." He goes, "But wait." Stella says, "Jordan would never do anything, to go after Curtis or something like that." And Trina says, "Oh yeah. Well, when I went outside, I sure did catch her kissing. She was kissing my dad. Not they were kissing each other, right?" And Stella says, "Wait, what? Jordan was kissing Kurt?" I just shook my head. "And I invited her here for dinner?" "Yeah, she was your daughter-in-law. She's the mother of you thought TJ was your nephew, but you still consider TJ your blood. Because really, TJ is Sean's son. All right? Let's not forget that. But TJ's still a part of your family. That's the mother of TJ. You've always liked Jordan, Stella. Okay? So anyway, Trina says, she goes, "How come I didn't know about that?" And Trina says, "Yeah, it sucks to find out that your family's been keeping secrets from you, huh? Like, oh, nobody told me my mother was pregnant." It's like, oh my God, shut up. And then when she was talking to Kai, she was getting on my nerves. And now it could be it could be my father now. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm sorry, y'all. Fast forward, Trina. I can't stand the writing on her right now. Oh my goodness. So, needless to say, now we got Stella's panties in a bunch. And Portia is going to be just playing up on that. Yep, Jordan's always been. Every time Curtis and I had any problems, Jordan's right there. She's going to be doing all that. When Stella, bottom line, Curtis and Jordan have been close ever since a few months after it took about a year after they divorced for them to, regain a relationship, a palatable relationship, because Portia was right there in the middle, making sure they never got back together again. That's why I ain't, I don't care about Portia. When Curtis and Jordan were having problems, Portia was right in there coming between them. And as a matter of fact, Stella couldn't stand Portia because she was trying to come between her and Curtis, Jordan and Curtis, whatever. So Curtis gets down to the station and Nathan says, "Okay, we've got some questions for you." And, he's going to go in the interrogation room. And Curtis says, "Well, Jordan's going to go with me." And Nathan says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I can't let that happen." So Curtis says, "Oh, okay. Then I will be staying right here until my attorney is present, who, by the way, I'm not able to reach right now." So Nathan goes, "Well, okay, she could come in." So now they're asking Curtis to go over his whereabouts step by step, step by step. And everybody, we finally got some fancy footwork into the writing. Fancy footwork is Curtis said the Savoy was closed today. When Curtis first gave his statement back in September, he never said that Savoy was closed. He said he went into the back entrance of the Savoy, so none of the employees at the Savoy saw him. Curtis said they didn't know he was there. Oh, I remember that statement, everybody. Plain as day. Well, today, the Savoy was closed that evening. And Curtis went in the back door. And so he says, "Okay." And he goes, "And then after I, left the Savoy, I went and talked to Alexis, and then I met Jordan. No, no, no. I dropped out Stella off, talked to Alexis, went to the Savoy, and then I met Jordan at the Brown Dog about 11, a little before 11. I mean, met with Jordan. Jordan says, that's about right. That's when I got there. So Curtis says, you said there's some new evidence. What new evidence? He goes, well, we got uh, a security report from, the security service that manages the alarms at the Savoy. Says at 9:30, the alarm was disabled. And that's when you walked in. Says, but no, 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 no. At 8, 8 something, the alarm was deactivated, or maybe even 9 o'clock. But at 9:32, the alarm was activated again when Curtis left. He says, so Congressman Kane was shot somewhere around 10:20 because that's when Tracy Quartermain found him, right? So he looked at Curtis. He says, from 9:32, he goes to 10:20. Where were you? Because you have no alibi for the period that Congressman Kane was shot. And so Curtis was sitting there. He goes, well, when I left the Savoy, I went to the Brown Dog. He goes, yeah, but that was at 11. He goes, I got there earlier before Jordan. And so Jordan says, no, that's right. When I got to the Brown Dog, Curtis was already there, right? But anyway, hold up a second. Y'all may cough here. He says, do you have anybody who can, this is Nathan talking, have anybody who can account for your whereabouts during that period? Curtis says, had I known I was going to need an alibi for that period, I would have brought somebody, right? But Curtis is thinking, flashback. Guess what the fancy writing did? He meets Selena Wu on one of the piers. It didn't necessarily look like Pier 54 to me, but anyway. Selena Wu, we ain't seen her in a hot minute since Jen Sidwell ran her out of town. And so he said, thank you for coming. I didn't think you would come in person. Like, I guess he went to talk to her on the phone. She goes, your phone call intrigued me. Yes, it was a long flight. What can I do for you? And Curtis says, I need Drew Kane dead tonight. I need him dead by tonight. I'm going to transfer $1 million into the specified account. And Selena Wu just looks at him, right? And that's the whole scene. And I'm like, wait a minute. For one thing, Selena wouldn't have killed Drew himself. And he didn't say for you to kill him. He's just said, I want Congressman dead. He was putting a hit out on Drew. And I'm like, what? You could put the hit out on him on the phone. Just use WhatsApp, okay? So, so anyway, oh my God. So she's just looking at him. They left the scene there. Everybody, I smell a spoiler detour leading us down the wrong direction. Seriously. And one thing Nathan said, the type of hit looks like it's a professional shooter. Are we talking about the same case? Would a professional shooter have broken into the Quartermain home upstairs in Edward's study, got his old dusty, trusty, don't know if it even fires anymore gun, which is what let me know. Well, Selena, we're not hearing all of that conversation because, for one thing, at that kind of close range, anybody Selena would have shot Drew in the head and made sure they shot him in the heart, right? For two, how would Selena be able to get her man one of Edward's guns? I said, what? They're throwing that in there to throw us 100% off track. And I'm here to say it, everybody. Professional shooter, doggone. No, no, it wasn't. Drew'd be dead if it was a professional shooter at that close range. Them throwing Selena Wu into this mix like this is sloppy writing to me. Them now all of a sudden saying the Savoy was closed. Sloppy writing to me. This did not seem like a professional shooter. Only thing that is like a professional shooter is a hitman will shoot you in the back. They don't care. Shooting you in the back of the head in the back, right? Otherwise, if it's a man that knew Drew, if it was Michael, Jason, anybody else that knew Drew, they looking Drew in the face, saying, "Look, eat this bullet because you deserve it, son of a gun." Okay. So I just kind of shook my head and I thought, nah, that's not what happened. Because we're gonna find out, guess what? Selena Wu couldn't get the job done. She couldn't find the man because she don't have no base of operation in Port Charles right now. So unless she flew into town with her hitman, Curtis, it couldn't have been done by tonight. Unbelievable. That was unbelievable. So I'm just shaking my head. Now, I want to hear your comments on that. I want to hear, do you believe that? That this is going down like that? And guess what, everybody? So Selena Wu's hitman has Twinkle Twinkle Little Star as a ringtone? Because, see, let's not forget, that's a key piece of evidence that's coming back. It's going to come back up. So, no, I didn't fall for the okey doke GH writers. I didn't. Now, Emma comes in. Gio has a nice conversation with Brooklyn, and they're making Gio's personality pretty much back to what it was. Remember, Gio used to give everybody good advice for somebody so young. He giving Brooklyn advice, whatever. Emma comes running in and she goes, Gio, Gio, it's time to go. And he goes, oh, okay. She goes, I've been trying to reach you. He says, well, I thought you left. He goes, my phone is on silent. And so she goes, yeah, but when I got home, this was under the door. And so she shows it to him and it's an address. He goes, okay, what is this? She goes, this is a few blocks away from PCU. This is the address to Dalton's second lab. And we're going to go free those animals tonight. And Gio's like, okay, yeah, let's go. Let's run into 100% danger because we don't know who gave you this address, who slid it under the door. What we do know is whoever did this wants you to go right there to walk right into the trap. We know that. I just shook my head and I thought, and they don't see danger? They can't smell maybe a setup trap? Because before I go to that unknown address at night. I'm gonna stake it out, everybody. You stake it out for those doggone animals aren't gonna die tonight. Dalton's dead. They may need some food and water. That's 100% true. Because guess what? They were sedated. Now that sedation's off and they like, I'm hungry. Okay, So okay, they need some food and water. I agree. Don't stake it out for days. But to just run there at night, nobody knowing where you going, oh my God. Whatever. So that ought to be good tomorrow to see what happens. Watch. They're gonna tidy it up to where they go. They save all these animals, and Dante's gonna know Gio and Emma were on the right track. They just had the wrong location. Watch. It's gonna be something like that. Which, oh, you know what? I'm cool with that for them to finish up that whole storyline. Tidy it up, finish it up, is gone. One other thing, as far as the animal testing. One other thing, they aged little Ace. They showed him today. Cutie pie, but aged him up. So yeah, I'm good with that too. By the time Nicholas get out of jail, he'll be 10, 15, 10, 11, 12 years old. And Nicholas only been gone for 2 years, but that's okay. We're cool with soap opera aging kids. But that's it, everybody. I will be back tomorrow with another daily recap of And before I go, I keep forgetting to say this at the beginning, everybody. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 6,000 subscribers. We're only a couple hundred away. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel.